Hi friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking you through some popular fantasy series that I have not read and if I could have your advice on whether I should read them. I saw this video originally over on Patrick Leo's channel. He did this but talking about some sci-fi series that he hasn't read. And I thought I would repurpose that video but make it fantasy because you could probably name a sci-fi series and I won't have read it. There are so many sci-fi series that I haven't read. I mean, I can do this version. I can do a sci-fi version if that would be of interest to you, but I feel like it would just be every sci-fi series ever, pretty much. But I thought because I'm a predominantly fantasy reader, I would repurpose this for fantasy. And although I've read a lot of fantasy, there are some very large, very popular fantasy series that I have not read from and haven't even attempted to read from. So I thought it'd be quite interesting to look at these just because of how many there are, really. That there is a lot of very popular fantasy series that I haven't started. So some of these I have more interested in than others, but I will try and avoid putting my bias in. I just thought I'd talk about the series as a whole if they were popular, and then you can let me know if you think that I would like them, and if you think that these series would be for me, or if you want to hear my thoughts on any of these series. To start off, I have not read any Joe Abercrombie. So I haven't read The Third Law or his YA series. I haven't read anything that he has written. I mean, I know about them. I know that he is Lord Grimdark, and I know that there's a character called Glockter, and I know that he's a torturer, but I don't really know the plot of the books. I've heard that there's Grimdark and there's humour, and that's really about it. I've heard some people say that the first book is more character driven and then you don't really get much plot, and then it all comes together if you read the trilogy as a whole. And I am a bit nervous because I'm not the biggest Grimdark reader, so I don't know necessarily if I'm going to like it or not, and I feel like if I didn't like it that would be a very unpopular opinion. Speaking of Grimdark, I have also not read The Lies of Lamora. I think that's Grimdark anyway, but by Scott Lynch. I have not started that. Actually, I did start that series. I read the first 50 or so pages of The Lies of Lamora and I wasn't in the mood for it. I just wasn't in the right headspace for it. It was the very start of the pandemic and I just wanted a lighter read, so I put it down and then I haven't come back to it. And that's not there's nothing on the book, it was purely my headspace. From what I remember reading, you were following a group, I guess sort of Robin Hood-esque is from my memory. Yeah, I remember it jumping forwards and backwards in time. It started off with him as a child, or our main character as a child, and following that, and then it jumped as well to the present where they were trying to pull off some sort of heist type deal or robbery. And I think I've been nervous because it's not a complete series. I feel like the first 3 books are out and it's meant to be quite a larger series, maybe 7 books. I also have not read The Black Prism or any of those books, or any book really, by Brent Weeks. So the one that I'm most interested in of the Brent Weeks books is The Black Prism, and so I definitely do want to give that book a try. It's one with a hard magic system that focuses around colours and light, and that if you use too much of it, you can end up killing yourself. So you can end up winning the war or something by using your powers, but if you use too much you kill yourself, which is really interesting concept, that using your magic can kill you and there is this consequence to it. I have heard that there's some, I suppose, interesting female representation, some not too positive female representation. I do struggle a bit reading stories where where the representation of women isn't very good. My eyes are very drawn to seeing it, and as soon as I see something I can't unsee it, and then I just keep seeing it more and more, and then it can be really detrimental to my enjoyment, which is why I've been a little bit hesitant to pick it up, because if there is that negative representation, I do struggle to look past it. Additionally, The Witcher I have not attempted to read at all. I did watch the first season of the TV series and I did find it a little bit confusing. I feel like it might have made more sense if I'd played the game or read the book or done any sort of Witcher related thing. I think I've heard from quite a few of my friends that the short story collections are really good, but then they haven't been so much of a fan of where the story goes in the latter half of the series, particularly to do with the way that it is told and the perspectives that are used. I don't know if I'm going to have a similar experience with that. I don't know if you have more enjoyment of the series if you have played the game or if you've been brought up playing the game, but I do like how I believe that it interweaves lots of different elements of Eastern European folklore, and that just really interests me. I have not read, actually, I haven't read any of Stephen King's books. So I haven't read any of his I've got the Dark Tower on here. That's the one that I put, and that series. But I haven't read a single book by Stephen King, a single word of Stephen King, which is, I think, I'm not impressive, but like, I feel like he is so prolific. He has so many books out in so many different genres, and so I've not read a single one. It's a bit like bizarre, really, like nowadays, that I've not read a single thing by him. But the one that I put on this list because of it being fantasy was his fantasy series. That I've had quite a few friends read this series in the past year and talk about it, post quite a few videos on it. I don't really know that much about it, although I've heard quite a few people say that the first book's a bit slower and then it really builds and improves as the series goes on, that you shouldn't judge the series from the first book. But I don't really know that much about it. I don't really know that much about the plot. I don't really know if it's going to be for me or not. I don't really know anything about it apart from quite a few of my friends like Leslie and Sarah have been reading it this year and have a lot to say on it, and that they really like it. And another prolific author that I haven't read from is Jim Butcher. So Jim Butcher has written the Dresden Files, which is an ongoing series, as well as the Codex Alera. I haven't read either of them or any of his works. I feel like out of those two, I'm more interested in the Codex Alera because that one is more epic fantasy, whereas the Dresden Files is more paranormal, I believe, or like this urban fantasy. And I have heard about how the representation within the Dresden Files, I think that would annoy me. Although I've heard that it greatly improves in the latter half of the series, I believe that the first half would annoy me, and then I probably would get stuck and wouldn't be able to get past it. As well, I'm a bit intimidated by it being like 20 books long, and I just really prefer my series to be shorter. I like a trilogy. I feel like 3 books is good. I mean, I do read longer series, but I feel like I have to be really interested in reading that longer series. I have to be like really strong interest in reading it. I don't know if I have that with Dresden. I mean, from my friends that have read it, I think a lot of them do find it quite fun, and they're quite bingeable when you get into them, but I just don't know if I would be able to get past that first hurdle, or the first few ones, and the length. Another very popular series that I have not read is Nevernight by J. Kristoff. I have read some J. Kristoff books, but I have never read Nevernight. I think I always planned to read Nevernight. I was always interested in reading Nevernight, the story of these assassin nuns. But as I have got older, I question whether it would actually be for me or not. Predominantly because of who J. Kristoff is as a person. I don't feel like I necessarily want to support him, and there are some elements about that book and a theme that I've noticed throughout the rest of his writing about how he writes these teenage female characters that act as though they're in their mid-20s. That, not representation, that sort of characterization annoys me. So I don't know if I want to read Nevernight or not, because I think there'll be a lot of elements in it that I really like. Like, I have liked his writing style, and I like the concept of these assassin nuns. So I felt there's lots of elements of it that I probably would like, but I just don't know. And I don't know if I want to support him if I did read it, especially as someone with a channel. And I do document what I read, that even if I got it from the library, I would then be talking about it and talking about my thoughts. And then is that encouraging other people to read his books? And I mean, a lot of people, they do still love and enjoy his books, like The Empire of the Vampire, which just came out. And I think that if it wasn't him that had written it, I probably would be interested in reading that. But it is him that has really put me off reading his books. An older series that I have not read, this one I have started, but it's been so many years now that I feel like I could add it to this list, is The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. So this one is, okay, it fits on this list because I never finished it. So my father did read me the first book, The Fellowship of the Rings. Like, we did read it, and we did get midway through the Two Towers, but we never finished it. And because it was like, oh, I was about to say 10 years ago, but that is not right at all. 20 years ago. Oh no. Because it was like maybe 20 years ago now that we read it, or 15 to 20 years ago. Oh, I was about to say 10, but no. I feel like it's all gone from my memory anyway. Like, I couldn't tell you, I mean, I could tell you the plot of Lord of the Rings, like I could easily tell you that, but I don't feel like I have that story in my mind at all. So I would class it as a popular fantasy series that I have not read. And this is one, I mean, I definitely do want to read The Lord of the Rings. I did just reread The Hobbit, and I did thoroughly enjoy my reread, so I am definitely interested to keep going and read more of J.R.R. Tolkien's books, particularly The Lord of the Rings. I don't know if I'd be interested in reading any of his other books. Continuing to speak of some older books, I have not read any of Remedy sacrifice books, so Magician, or anything that he's written. I know he's written a lot of books. I do own Magician. I think I found it in the charity shop for like £1, so I picked it up. I don't know if Magician is particularly going to be for me, but I do feel like it's a classic of fantasy, and it is well received. But I don't know if it's one of those stories where if you'd read it in the 80s or whatever when it was published, you thoroughly enjoyed it, and then you kept reading his books and you saw him grow as an author, and now you really, really love him because of where he is now with his books. I don't know if Magician will be the best place to start for me, or whether it would be better if I started with one of his other works or one of his more recent publications. But also I don't know, because he has so many books, I wouldn't really know where to start with his books aside from Magician, because that's one I know that is the first. I believe that is just a very classic story about like magic school and a boy becoming a magician. And then another classic is the like Sword of Shannara, or any of the Shannara books. Not read any of them. And I know that there's quite a few. I didn't realise there was like more than just like the first like Shannara trilogy. I thought there was just this trilogy, but actually there's like many different Shannara trilogies, and I was like, whoa, there's so many of them, what? But I haven't read any of the Shannara books, and these are again a popular series from I don't know when they were first published, 80s, 90s, I don't know, but I have not read them. I don't really know that much about them. I don't know if they would be for me. I have not watched the TV show, but I know there is one, but more because I just don't know anything about them that I haven't read them. And then continuing in this like older, we'll get all the older ones out of the way, not out of the way, but like done. I have not read any Tad Williams, so The Dragonbone Chair, which is the first book in the Memory, Sorrow and Thorn series. That one I am particularly interested in reading. I really do want to read this one, at least give it a try, because I've heard it compared to authors that I really like John Gwynne and like Brian Lee Durfee, and that they have been inspired by Tad Williams. So that does encourage me to read this one, despite being older and me being a bit more nervous of older fantasy written by men. I do definitely want to give The Dragonbone Chair a try. Again, I don't really know that much about it, apart from that it is a very epic series. It's a trilogy, but I think I'd see it as a quartet, because I know that final book is like the longest book in the history of books, and that like it gets split up into two like 800-page books. So that's a quartet for me. But I think it just has all of the trappings of like an epic fantasy series. I think there's a castle with secret passageways, and I love a secret passageway. Well, I did a discussion on The Forgetting Moon with Jimmy from the Fantasy Network, and he was raving about it and comparing it to it, so that was what's really prompted me to want to read it. But currently it's on my popular fantasy series list that I have not read. Okay, so we've got some really big ones here that I have not read. I have not read Malazan, The Book of the Fallen by Stephen Erickson. This is a 10-book fantasy series. I think there's actually a few extra bits that you could put on either side, I don't really know. And I think it's quite grimdark and military based and thematic in ways. I believe it's quite dense in places, and that nobody really describes that much about the plot. They talk about the themes and how inventive Stephen Erickson is as a writer. It's one where I don't know if it would be for me. And again, I don't know if I would want to commit to at least currently, to a 10-book series that is very dense and of that nature. But I think in general, I've heard quite positive reviews of the series and positive thoughts from some of my friends. I believe that books follow different characters, and so you do end up with different parts and different moving pieces. It's a very, very popular, very beloved series that I have not started, done anything with. Okay, and then we have The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I have not read this. It's very, very popular, very popular. And the reason that I have not read this is, well, I mean, there's multiple reasons, I just haven't read it, but like one of the big driving reasons why I have not read The Name of the Wind is because the third book is not published and we do not have a publication date. And so I just don't know if I really want to start the series if we're never going to get the third book. And then people say, well, you might as well just enjoy what there is and just enjoy it. And I'm like, but there's never going to be that third book, or we just don't know if there's ever going to be that third book. So do I even want to like start it? I mean, I do own it, but like, do I even want to start it? But the thing is, I've heard about how amazing it is and how people rave about it. Even my stepmom tells me like to read it because she loves it, but I just haven't. I just haven't. I also have heard like The Name of the Wind is amazing, but the second book, The Wise Man of Fear, isn't as good, and that he's also written himself into a bit of a hole, and so it's going to be tricky for him to wrap it up in a third book. That he has sort of, the structuring of the story that he set out in the first book has left him in a bit of a pickle. and so that's why he's now a bit stuck. But the thing is, I just don't want to end up in the same situation where I am with A Song of Ice and Fire, where I read the 5 books that were published back in like 2013, read the whole lot, would have been really interested in continuing the series if the 6 books had been out now at that time. But now it's been so many years since I read that series, I don't feel like I have like the desire and the drive to reread it. So am I ever going to finish the series? Am I ever going to finish it? I doubt it. I really do doubt it. Even if the 6th book comes out, I don't know if I would reread everything that I have read. I don't know if I would have the same experience with it either. I don't know if I would love it as much as I did when I read it in 2013. And another one is The Realm of the Elderling. I did read The Assassin's Apprentice and I was not a fan. I read it quite a few years ago and it wasn't for me. But there is so many other Robin Hobb books and I would like to give her another chance. I feel like even though I've read that one book, there is a vast array of Robin Hobb books that I have not read, particularly in The Realm of the Elderling, and particularly I would like to start with, I think, The Ship of Magic. I feel like that one might be more for me, and then if I do like it, then I would go back and reattempt Assassin's Apprentice and the Fitz books. But I feel like for the purpose of this video, it is a very popular fantasy series that I have not read. I am nervous to retry it. I feel like if I read Ship of Magic and I don't like it, that would be it for me and Robin Hobb. Like, I can't keep giving her chances. You can only give an author so many chances before you decide that they are not for you. And not that she did anything particularly wrong, I just didn't gel with it for whatever reason. But this was quite a few years ago now, so I am interested to give her another try. And then the 15th and final book on this list of popular series that I have not read yet is The Wheel of Time. So the first book being The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. And once again, this has the trappings of the gigantic fantasy series. I think this one's 14 books with a novella as well or something. Like, so many books, so many. And I just don't know if it would be for me. Like, I feel as though a lot of the critiques I've heard of the series is that it has this slog and that actually it should just be like a 10-book series, and that it went on too long and it has so much filler in it, which you can agree or disagree with me. I haven't read it, so I don't know. I don't know if this one would be for me. I think I'm going to give the TV show a try. I don't know if that's like a crime that I'm going to watch the TV show before reading the book, but that's what I think I'm going to do. I believe that this is the epic fantasy series that a lot of people have read, a lot of people grew up with, and a lot of people have thoroughly enjoyed it. It has lots of the normal fantasy tropes that we come to enjoy, like the Chosen One and different magical powers and a big evil. Like, I believe it has a lot of things that I do enjoy in fantasy books, but I just don't know if the series as a whole would be for me or if it's worth it. Hopefully I've not missed one, but those are 15 very popular fantasy series that I have not read yet. If you can try and let me know which ones you think I should prioritise out of those and which ones you think that I would enjoy more than the others, which ones I should read, which ones are your favourites as a whole, and if you're surprised by any of these, because some of these are exceptionally popular and have been around for many years, and I just haven't read them. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in my future videos. Bye!